Yo, what is up guys? It's the Goblin. Welcome back to another Call of Duty Modern Warfare video. In today's video, we are going to be talking about the best class setup and some tips and tricks for the FR 5.56, aka the FAMAS, if you're familiar with the FAMAS from previous CODs. This is a burst weapon that has the ability to one burst or one shot people fairly consistently in this game when you have the right attachments on it and have good accuracy. Basically, if you're hitting them in the upper chest or the head, you're going to be killing them in one pull of the trigger, which is absolutely amazing. This is a weapon that, of course, if you're using burst weapons and competing with other weapons in a game that has such a fast time to kill like this game, you need to be able to hit those one shots to make this weapon effective. But if you can and if you are accurate, this can be a very, very deadly weapon in this game. If you could drop a like on this thing, let's go ahead and go for 891 likes. That would be absolutely incredible. Once again, subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. Shout out to everyone new subscribing. We're at like 960k subscribers. I mean, the growth is just absolutely unexpected and insane. On the road to 1 million subscribers. So definitely subscribe to the channel if you guys are not already subscribed. And let's go ahead and get right into this. Now, we already talked about this weapon. Where you're going to want to aim with it is definitely different from other weapons because you can't just hit them in the legs or in the wherever. You need to be hitting them in the upper chest to get those one-shot kills. However, that's mainly where you're going to be aiming. And in a game like this where it's not really a rush-happy game, it's kind of a campy sort of patrolling game, you're going to be usually having the gunfights where you're aimed down sights and the enemy walks into your field of view. That's the perspective you want to take with this weapon, where you basically pull the trigger once and bada bing, bada boom, they're instantly eliminated. So that's absolutely awesome. We're going to talk about the class setup with this thing. We'll go ahead and break down the perks that we use on this thing, and then we'll go later into the video and talk more about the attachments because, of course, the attachments are super important and there's a lot of stuff to cover in depth, mainly around the attachments with this weapon. You want to have stuff that slows down this weapon but increases its ability to get more one-shot kills. However, that, you know, the slowdown stuff and the way that the attachments work in this game, you kind of just have to deal with it, and that's why this is a weapon that's made for patrolling, sort of setting up in areas and picking people off, you know, up close. This thing is pretty much useless at hip firing. If you're aiming down sights and you hit that one burst kill, of course, the time to kill is super duper fast, basically instantly, so you can compete doing that up close, but getting your gun up quick up close can be very, very tough, and definitely hip firing is not the way to go with this thing. So let's go ahead and break down each of these perks that we have on this weapon. Now, first perk 1 is going to be EOD. This is pretty much self-explanatory. It's flak jacket. EOD equals flak jacket. And on a weapon like this, where you're going to be posting up in an area, people are definitely going to be trying to nade the heck out of you, whether it's random nades that come into the top on Graz in a raid. That's always the worst when you're like one off of your VTOL warship, which is basically a Harrier strike from Modern Warfare 2, and people are just chucking random flashbangs, random nades and stuff like that. And EOD also does help with the sort of Claymore epidemic in this game. That's well, I think they've said that they're going to be addressing Claymores. As I mean, what can they really do though? Claymores are meant to be a one-shot kill, and the way they design the maps in this game and the setups, I mean, it really seems like they want people to post up with Claymores. So EOD in that first perk slot, basically your flak jacket, helps against explosives, can be very, very helpful. Second perk slot. Now the second perk slot is probably the most competitive. There's a lot of different things that are good in that perk slot. You can use kill chain and try to chain up your streaks, you know, maybe use like a cruise missile, stack that into a VTOL, try to stack that into a gunship. That can be pretty nice. What kill chain does, it turns your streaks from you have to get every single kill with your gun to if you get kills with your streaks, those count towards your next streak, much like it did in Modern Warfare 2 if you're familiar with that. But as of right now in this current meta, when it comes down to a second perk on this class setup, I just can't go away from restock because of the fact that restock will, every 30 seconds, you will get your Claymore as well as your tactical equipment refreshed, which is super duper important for the fact that obviously the way the maps are set up, the way this class setup is set up, it just feeds right into that. And if you're going on a streak, usually let's say you get whatever 11 or 12 kills to get the top kill streaks, usually in a streak like that you might get honestly even like 3 to 4 kills out of those Claymores because you're just stacking them over and over. And when players get mad, they just start to constantly rush you, and this is a weapon that, you know, you set up those Claymores, you pick people off from a height advantage looking down, and then you have a Claymore maybe watching the back. It is kind of like a weird or dumb playstyle, but that's how this game is made. And as of right now, restock is just really, if you're trying to do well and you want to try hard to get streaks, it's the way to go with the restock with the Claymore. Coming in at the third perk slot, now this is where it gets more of up in the air. Third perks they're not as important in this game, and honestly, if you take any of these. It's not really going to screw you over. It's not really going to ruin your class setup. But I would definitely say when it comes down to the third perk, I go with either one of two things. And the cool thing is you can edit your loadout in the actual game. So I usually start off with Shrapnel, which starts you off with 2 claymores, especially on a map like Grozna Raid, if you know you're going to be posting up, or you know, depending on your scenario. And then if I notice the enemies are throwing a lot of flashbangs or stun grenades, I will quickly swap out the Shrapnel because it's not really needed. I mean, it's nice to have, but it's not really needed. I would quickly swap that out for Battle Harden, which is basically Tac Mask, which will help me against people's flashbangs, people's stun grenades, and other stuff like that. Then the equipment, I rock with the Claymore, and then a flashbang on this thing. I don't rock with the Stim Shot just because I don't have extended mags on this, which I'll talk about when we get to the attachments. And I just think that Stim Shot and is more for like rushing sort of setups, or this is a weapon where it doesn't really feed into Stim Shot. It feeds into more flashbangs, because if you're trying to rush people, you're going to need to have them flash before you run into the building and try to take them out. I also want to say, feel free to let me know in the comment section down below what weapon you want to see a class setup for next. So far, we've covered the Kilo, the M4, the FR in today's video, and the AUG SMG. So let me know what you guys want to see next. Going to be covering pretty much all of the good weapons in this game. I have been working pretty much 24/7. I mean, you guys can see I've been pumping out like 3 videos a day, a lot of tip videos, a lot of class setups, and it really has been a grind. I have a friend of mine, because the weapon levels are such a grind in this game, I have a friend of mine, so whenever I log off of the game to work on videos, he's actually logging on and helping me continue that weapon grind so that we can get all of these attachments unlocked, and I can make these class setups and get them out for you guys as fast as possible, but also as efficient and as effective as possible, so that I can test out attachments, test out different combos and weapon builds, and give you guys the actual best class setup, and not just get to like level 20 with each weapon and be guessing what the best class setup is. So hopefully you guys do appreciate it. Let me know what you guys want to see next. I hope this stuff is helpful for you guys, covering all these weapons in a brand new game. I hope I'm helping the community out with this, and I hope I'm bringing some value to you guys. Anyway, let's get into the attachments. Drop a like. Enjoy. Yo, what is up, guys? Let's go ahead and get into the attachments for this FR556, aka the FAMAS. So the first thing you're going to want to focus on is the barrel. Now, a lot of the attachments on this weapon revolve around making this thing be able to one-shot or one-burst the enemies, and that, of course, includes increasing your damage at range, as well as wanting to control the recoil, because in those occasions where the enemy is far away, you are going to have to hit them with probably 2 bursts, sometimes even 3 if they're very, very far away to get the kill. So having control on this weapon is very, very important. Now, as far as the barrel, we go with the FR 24.4 Sniper. This one gives you damage at range, which is super duper important because it gives you more one burst kills at range, bullet velocity, which is also very, very helpful, and your recoil control. All 3 of these pros are very, very helpful on this class setup. However, the cons are movement speed and ADS speed. That's just the way it works. Obviously, you don't really want to give up that stuff, but you kind of have to. And on a weapon like this, where you're going to be mainly hard scoping, waiting for enemies to come into your sight, as well as not really running and gunning as much, losing movement speed is annoying because of how far back you spawn in this game. You're going to have to run way, way, way further. Sometimes maybe you might want to use a tac insert in your class setup if you don't want to be annoyed by that running simulator, as some people say. But once you're set up in your spot, this is a weapon that's used for patrolling objectives or different things like that. And I definitely think the FR 24.4 is the best barrel to go with in terms of these 3 options. Next attachment, we're going to go with the Optic sight. Now, on a lot of weapons in this game, I use the default sights, but I also mix it up with the Optic sights. Now, the game is early, so I've just been testing everything, and on weapons where I enjoy, like a Kilo, I like the iron sights on that weapon, but sometimes I might still use the red dot depending on how I'm feeling. Now, I'll tell you, this is kind of BS. The fact that my favorite is the Viper Reflex sight, which is, the circular sort of red dot, which is kind of unlocked way earlier on a lot of other weapons, but on the FAMAS, it's unlocked 10 out of 21. So this is kind of BS in my opinion. The ones that you get early are really bad, to be honest. I don't really like the reflex sight or the combat holographic sight. I don't think these are the best, but you kind of just have to suffer and use them as you're ranking up your weapon up until you get something that's a little more effective up here, when you get the minis, or when you go up to a Viper Reflex sight, or you even see some people liking with, some of these other sights like the GI Mini, which is also reminds me of the red dot from Modern Warfare 2. It all comes down to personal preference. I really think, though, that the circular one is really nice. Precision sight picture. Of course, you do lose some ADS speed when using red dot sights in this game, but I don't really like the default scopes on this weapon, and the FAMAS has been one that traditionally, well, I guess in Black Ops 1, you didn't really have to use a red dot on it, although if you did, it was kind of circular. I mean, that was a different sort of FAMAS as well, because that was the fully auto one. MW2, all the other games with the FAMAS, it's usually a red dot sort of weapon. Next is the stock. Now, with the stock, it's pretty self-explanatory. I want that walking movement speed. I want that strafing speed on a weapon like this. So if I don't kill them in one burst, I can sort of be strafing and try to kill them with that second burst. Honestly, the other ones here, you get aim stability and you lose stock with this. You get ADS speed and you lose stability. I really think you're kind of crazy if you don't go with the ultralight hollow. This one is a no-brainer to me as someone that likes stock on assault rifles, and especially on weapons like, a FAMAS or a burst weapon. Reminds me of something like an M8, if you're familiar more with Treyarch games with like a Black Ops 3 or Black Ops 4, kind of like an M8. That's a weapon that you would always want stock on, and same pretty much goes for this FR556. Next, it comes down to the rear grip tape. Now, this is where things get a little bit more interesting. We'll talk about that in a second, but first we'll cover with the underbarrel. Now, with the underbarrel, there's basically two options that are pretty good. Commando foregrip gives you recoil stabilization, aiming stability, and you lose movement speed. Now, this is awesome because it's unlocked early as well, so you can just slap this thing on as soon as you get it. But your other option, if you would like to swap that out, would be for the operator foregrip. This one gives you recoil control and gives up your ADS speed. So if you're playing on a much bigger map where maybe you're going to have to rely on more 2 to 3 round burst kills, maybe you're playing ground war or something, you could definitely mix it up and go with that operator foregrip when you hit level 11 on it. But honestly, I don't think it's that big of a deal. I really like the commando foregrip as well. Aiming stability is the thing that usually I just write it off to the side. Like, if I'm playing 10v10 or 6v6, aiming stability isn't really a thing I'm too much looking for. But on a weapon that's a burst weapon where you're going to have to be more precise with it than just a fully auto spraying, 60 rounds in a clip M4, aiming stability can actually be decently helpful in this game, just because of the maps being so big and stuff like that. Now, next option here is going to be the rear grip tape. Now, with this one, I think it really comes down to a decision-making process. Now, with rear grip tape, of course, I'm going to go with the stippled grip tape because of the fact that that gives you your ADS speed and sprint to fire speed, which is not, it's not the best for this class setup. It's not like I'm rushing with an SMG. It's not like I need ADS speed or I need sprint to fire speed. I think it's definitely worth it to have those two things to give up aiming stability. But on the other hand of that, this is what I usually take if I'm playing 6v6 or 10v10 on, a medium-sized map. I guess there's not really too many small maps in this game, but on like a medium-sized map, like a Graz and a Raid, I'll definitely take a stippled grip tape. But what I would do if I'm mixing up and maybe I'm playing ground war on a super-duper big map is go with the monolithic suppressor, which gives you the sound suppression, which is all right. It's not, the way suppressors work in this game, because, the red dots don't even pop up on the mini map when you're shooting, it's really different in this game compared to every other Call of Duty game. But you also get damage range. Now, the damage range you get on this is pretty significant. It can stack, and that's why you have to give up your aim walking steadiness and your aim down sight speed, which kind of does make a big deal. Aim walking steadiness as you're strafing, your character is going to be sort of bouncing the gun up and down, so that can be a little bit more of a big deal. But this is where the decision-making process comes down to, and I say if you're playing on like a 6v6 medium-sized map, definitely go with the stippled grip tape. But if you're trying to use this in more of a ground war, go with the monolithic suppressor. You could go ahead and take away the stippled grip tape, and then obviously if you're playing on something that's a much bigger map, you have 21 different sight options here. I'm not going to claim to be an expert in any of these sight options. I usually just stick with the normal red dot, but if you're playing ground war trying to post up, you might want to go with something even they have a sniper scope with this thing, and they also have options where you can, hybrid scopes, or ones where you can sort of go back and forth between a super duper zoom and not as zoom, something like this, an integral hybrid. You get a reflex and a scout toggle. Something like this could be good if you're playing on a much bigger ground war, sort of picking people off at range with this weapon. But then again, if you're doing that, you're gonna have to be getting 2 to 3 round burst kills, and I think this weapon is more made for setting up and trying to pick people off with those one round instant burst kills. So of course, that's your choice between monolithic suppressor and the stippled grip tape. It is kind of nice. Stippled grip tape, which is one that's unlocked usually later on most of the weapons, on rear grip, is unlocked very early on this one. So that is super duper dope. Helps, because everything on this gun is sort of slowing it down to increase my accuracy, my damage at range, and my handling. Having that stippled grip tape speeds it up just a tad little bit. So if you do get caught in a sprint, maybe you have a chance to save yourself and sort of win that gunfight. Anyway, hope you guys did enjoy this video. I definitely think this weapon is amazing, but it does take some customizations. This is not a weapon that you can just pick up at level 1 and really be good with and get those one-shot kills. You need to design an amazing class setup around this thing and be able to be accurate to make this weapon do very, very well for you in Modern Warfare. Anyway, I hope you guys did enjoy this video. Go ahead and drop a like on this thing, subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. I really, really do appreciate all the support, and I will catch you all in the next one, and I'm out. Peace.